Los Obispo. It's time. It is Living the Run. We're not just chewing the fat, we're getting rid of it. We are your home for everything health and fitness. Living the Run is being brought to you by Puma Aquatics, Standard Process Nutrition, Peak Performance Massage, and to the chiropractic team at Slow Wellness Center. Here are your hosts for Living the Run, Rex Stevens and Paul Tarek.
Another great day to live the run. I'm your host, Rex Stevens. In studio now in the starting lineup, former Major League catcher, current scout for the Chicago Cubs, Adam Melhuse. Adam, starting lineup, how's it feel?
Finally a start. I've been waiting a long time for this, been working hard. I appreciate you giving me the nod.
You know, it's been 1 week after another. You've been pinch hitting. You've been doing that fill-in stuff, then back to the bench, coming back off. We appreciate you coming in, stepping in, working hard each week and supporting Living the Run. Love having you on here.
I love being on. It's a lot of interesting topics, and to be honest, I learn a lot.
Hey, it's a great point. I had a guy come in. He says, "Hey, Living the Run." He goes, "I heard your guys' show. It must just what is it? It's just all about running?" And it's absolutely not all about running. This is a health and fitness show, but we find ourselves so many times going to the brink of those mental aspects of sport, mental aspects of competition. Incredible show today that focuses right there again. Samantha Pruitt running this incredible deal with the slow marathon. We had it last year. We're going on our second one this year. Sold out last year. They're going to go much bigger. She's just landed one of the biggest names in ultramarathon running, author, incredible athlete, Dean Karnazes, that they just announced. Dean's coming on the show tonight, and when you want to talk about mental aspect of sport as well as physical, there's nobody better than Dean Karnazes.
Yeah, I went on his, I Googled him and looked him up and was digging up as much info as I could. And it didn't take me long to just kind of sit back and go, is this real? I mean, is this a real this guy is amazing. I mean, it just blew me away.
Yeah, taking athletics to a whole new level, taking that mind focus to a whole new level. But, as I was talking to Samantha here just before the show, she's going to join us in just a bit. It's about not just the elite level of athleticism, which you've been at. You've been at the highest spot in Major League Baseball, but it's about getting people who really aren't doing anything to get off and perform. And, we live in one of the greatest places in the world, and we're reminded of that regularly. And, here's an opportunity to participate as a community, to run in a beautiful spot. And that course is phenomenal. You run back in the vineyards, you hit downtown, you hit some different spots, and you get to really get a sense of the beauty of this area. But then you get to get a sense of how active people are around here too. And if you're not active now, here's a wonderful chance to get active. And why not get a chance to come out and run with one of the greatest runners that's ever been on this earth, Dean Karnazes, who's going to be there. And you got a chance to run the whole marathon with him. April 5th through 7th that weekend is a big, big weekend for the slow marathon. And it's going to be one of those ones, if you're thinking about it, don't keep thinking about it, sign up now. Because you got to get your name on the list because it's going to sell out, guaranteed. This isn't even questionable what's going to happen. It's going to sell out, and you're going to be kind of bummed if you miss it this year with Dean Karnazes.
And I'm assuming when you say that you can run the marathon with Dean, that at least at the starting line, you'll be able to maybe catch a glimpse of him. After that, you're in his vapor trail. You're not keeping up with that guy. No way.
Yeah, one of the nice things about Dean, we'll have to ask him about that, but he has done a few great things. I know his book, and then they turned it into a documentary, the 50-50-50, where he ran the 50 marathons in 50 days in all 50 states. He did a great thing where he ran with different groups, and it wasn't about running his fastest in every race. It was really about doing that, getting people up, getting people moving, and getting people active. And so he kind of hung back a little bit. So.
Well, wasn't the final one to New York, and then he ran it in 3 hours or something like that?
Yeah, he didn't hang back too much in that one. He kind of took off. But
wow.
Fortunately, and hopefully, Dean's going to slow it down a little bit and get some of these folks to kind of come in and run with him.
That'd be cool.
Good stuff. Hey, I wanted to say before, my son's, I was taking my son to kindergarten today. He says, "Dad, what day is it?" I said, "Today's Wednesday." He says, "Dad, that's your radio show." And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Hey, Dad, what are you going to talk about?" I said, "I don't know. What should I talk about?" He pulls out, he had a share bag today. He's supposed to take his sharing thing, and he's got this little Christmas tree. He says, I think maybe you could talk about Christmas trees.
Nice. Maybe a Doug fir, something like that.
Yeah, maybe a Doug fir. Talk about the different varieties. But, he was right on. And, hi to Kellen and Leighton. I told him I'd tell him hi. He's right on there. When you start to think about Christmas, one of the things we've talked about the last couple of weeks and talked about holidays is not an excuse not to work out. It's not an excuse to say, hey, there was a lot of stress and I got off my routine, or I gained a little weight. Ryan Joyner's told us from Athlon Elite each week, he's got a program over there to take you through the holidays. Tara Kulikoff, who's been in here, Pinnacle Training Systems, take you through the holidays. But the mindset should be that, hey, I got some opportunities. I understand there's going to be some stress. I'm going to get out there and move a little bit. I'm going to take some that extra time, find some family members to go on a walk with. I'm going to go find a hike I haven't done for a while and do a little extra. I think this is a great time, Adam, to get out there with the family.
No doubt. I mean, and like you touched on earlier about with where we're living here, with several different hikes, all the way for probably really, really difficult butt kicking to just a nice nature walk, if you will. I mean, you've got plenty of options. Go down to the beach, walk on the beach, explore there, explore down by where the elephant seals are, north on the one there. And I mean, there's just the opportunities and the options are endless, and there really is no excuse to just sit there and watch football or whatever you're watching. Now, I'm not saying football's not fun to watch, but it's not fun when you sit there with the big old belly feeling like a heap of nothing, and you're like, oh man. So yeah, I mean, get out there, move around, get the blood pumping. You feel better, then you can earn that piece of pumpkin pie or whatever your dessert of choice is.
Yeah, no question. And, I think, again, that's the message here on Living the Run. That's what we're trying to bring to the listeners, and that's what we've had. Different authors, doctors, athletes of all different kinds. I'm excited about next week, Adam. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. The girl we got coming on next week is ranked number 2 in the world. She's going to end 2002 as ranked number 2 in the world in tower running.
Tower running.
They set up races in places like the Empire State Building, Sears Tower, the Hancock Building in Chicago, Bank of America Building, or the Pyramid Building in San Francisco. And they say, hey, who can get to the top first? Incredible, epic stuff.
Wow.
They're set to try and do a world record on January 6th, I believe it is, where 4 of them are going to go for 24 hours to see how many steps they can generate in 24 hours.
Let's get this. So they're running up to the top. How do they, now assuming that's inside in the stairwell?
Inside in the stairwell.
So how many people can run up the stairwell at a time?
It's incredible. She mentioned that in one of the races she did, 6,000 participants, and what they did was they ran you about every 10 seconds. So they just had this long line about every 10 seconds you go. And for somebody like her, she said it got real lonely in a lot of times because there's nobody there. Nobody's at the pace that she's at. So once she gets to the front, she's running stairs, no one in sight. And Dean's going to talk a little bit about that, and Samantha can attest to it too. When you get on some of these long endurance runs, you might have 10, 20 miles, 30 miles where you don't see anyone. And so it's going to be kind of epic. You're indoors, you're going uphill on stairs, and you just kind of keep going. You can't see the finish line either. That's another thing. You got no idea where it is and how many more flights you got left. Nobody in sight to encourage you. It's not like slow marathon. Hey, you're going to have people along the sides. We're going to pack them out this next year. And I know that's one of Samantha's goals is how can we get more people weekend of April 5th through 7th, 2013 to get on the streets to line up to support. So if you're not participating as an athlete, you're supporting. But can you imagine being in Sears Tower? You're up whatever, 50th floor. You got no idea how many floors you've done.
You'd have
Nobody
to do
around.
A step counter or something something, right? To at least have an idea.
Gosh, I don't know.
On your watch or something, or
the mental fortitude it's got to take to do that event. I'm excited. I hadn't really heard about this too much, and I'm excited about her coming on. She's a friend of Casey Lauren Fisher. Remember Casey, Max? She had come on. She was the one that rollerbladed across the country. Jeez. She did it the fastest. She set the world record this year, Adam, in rollerblading across in 68 days or some crazy deal from California to Florida. Pretty impressive stuff, and there's some people doing some amazing things. So excited to have these people on Living the Run.
Nah, that's phenomenal. I mean, the racing up to the top of the building stairs. I can picture it, and if it's anything like what I'm picturing, wow,
it's freaking you out.
Yeah, that's crazy. What will they think of next? I don't know.
Hey, it's different than catching a ball for 9 innings.
Much different.
Much different. Hey, it looks like we got Dean Karnazes on the line. We're going to take a quick break. We want to have a full segment with Dean. Excited to hear. If you haven't heard, Dean Karnazes entering the Slow Marathon 2013. You can run with Dean. This is an incredible experience. This guy's got a lot of opportunities to pick a lot of different races. He's chosen San Luis Obispo. Excited to talk to Dean about this. Come back with us on Living in the Run. Stick with us.
You're listening to Living the Run on ESPN Radio 1280 The Ticket.
Hey, Dean.
How are you?
Hey, Rex Stevens. Hey, how are you? Man, I'm so excited about this.
We're back with Living the Run.
Welcome back to Living the Run. The following segment is brought to you by Jaffa Cafe, our favorite, our home for Greek and Mediterranean food. Every guest on the show gets $20 at Jaffa Cafe and a good visit with Adnan. Who doesn't love Adnan over there at Jaffa Cafe? Talk about good.
I'll make sure I collect mine before I go.
Good service. Hey, Samantha Pruitt in with us, race director of Slow Marathon. Thanks for joining us, Samantha.
You bet. How you doing, Dean?
Hey, Dean is here too. So here's the deal. Let me introduce this. For those of you who have never heard of this man, father, runner, author, motivator. All I can say is I haven't been more motivated to run than after reading your books. Dean Karnazes, thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. And I didn't know anything about that $20 coupon. I'm so excited because I'm Greek.
I was going to comment on that. I didn't know if you'd ever been to Jaffa Cafe.
That's the first place I'm going when I get there.
Absolutely. $20 to Jaffa Cafe. And I'm telling you, this guy Adnan, he takes living to the run to the next level. Maybe only you supersede him, Dean, but this guy is positive. He's energetic. He's out on the hills every single day. He's moving. He's living life, and he'll meet you once, and he'll never forget your name.
Well, opa to that.
When Dean's here, he can take his family in.
Yeah, Dean, you got to bring the whole family. He'll love it. He'll love it over there.
I've got a big, fat Greek family, so I hope he's prepared. All my relatives are because Samantha's invited all my relatives too, so she's in trouble. The Slow Town's in trouble.
The Slow Town's in trouble. Well, I mean, I think not everybody knows this. You're a big time name when it comes to running. You got the 3 best-selling books. You've had the documentary. You've had epic performances in so many different races from Badwater on. But what people don't know, I don't think everybody knows that you were a Cal Poly guy back in the living in the slow life.
A mighty Mustang I was, indeed.
Mighty Mustang, indeed. And I think another thing that people need to kind of rehash with you is that you left slow, you started in a job that was more sedentary, wasn't allowing you to move too much, wasn't fulfilling that spirit, and you decided to make a change. Talk a little bit about that for those listeners that haven't heard.
Well, I mean, you're exactly right. I went through college. I went through graduate school at Cal Poly. I went and got a business degree and had a cush corporate job and thought, I should be so happy right now, living the American dream. And I was just miserable. So I walked out of a bar on my 30th birthday, after multiple shots of tequila, and said, you know what? I'm going to start running again. I used to love to run when I was younger, and I ran 30 miles that night to celebrate my 30th birthday, and pretty much changed the course of my life.
Yeah, my 30th birthday was a little bit different. Adam, what was yours like?
It was actually much similar. The shots, anyways. The running, no, not so much. I think I was on my back.
Well, I can think of worse things to do when you're plastered, right?
Exactly.
No question about it. Well, Dean, you talk about, I remember the last time we had you on the show, and you had just done Badwater there, a big run, and you'd gotten just under 30 hours, and, again, just a kind of a crazy race. And one thing that you said to us that stood out to me is that you said you were actually going to try to train for it this next year. And I guess that what that meant is you said, hey, you know what, I'm gonna take back some of all these activities that I've been in. I'm going to cut down the schedule a little bit. I'm going to focus a little bit more on running. Is that still the case?
That's going to be the case next year. Absolutely. Being an author and also being a speaker and so forth, you just get these invitations constantly. You get bombarded with things, and what you find is that you're pretty much not training the way you'd like to because you're on the road constantly. And next year is the year I said, I'm going to stop doing this for a while and really focus on training and really hammer out some races.
Well, how special it is for us in San Luis Obispo, then, that you've chosen to use San Luis Obispo as one of those races that you can come to. Talk about that, because you said, you're getting bombarded from every which way. Everyone wants you to run. You've been in all 50 states. You did that whole routine. How did it come down to, what did Samantha Pruitt have to do to twist your arm to get you to come down to San Luis and participate in this second marathon here we've got going?
Oh, well, if anyone knows Samantha Pruitt, they know that she has got great endurance. And she is about as she perseveres through anything. She's just been hounding me since the get-go to be there, and I've felt so bad because I've always had conflicting things on the books. And so last year I said, I'm going to hold those dates open, and I'm going to be there for this race because I just want to be there so badly. And I was true to my word, and she would kill me if I wasn't. And it's going to be an annual thing from here forward.
Samantha, talk about what you see envisioning on that race day with Dean here in town, because it's obviously going to be much different than this last year. Last year was a huge success, but bringing in a name like that, what are we looking to do with Dean? How are we getting people out to participate with Dean going forward?
Yeah, you bet. So Dean will be at the Expo race weekend. He will be there at a multitude of events, but on Saturday, for sure, you're not going to want to miss him speaking at the Expo, actually on stage, and also doing a book signing after that. Saturday, we have a 5K and a kids' fun run. He's going to be starting those races Saturday morning, so bring your family down. Strollers are welcome. Anybody's welcome. Walkers, runners, kids, participate in that. He'll be at that event as well. And then, of course, he'll be actually running the marathon on Sunday morning. And the plan is that we'll have a Dean Corral. So we have pace corrals, and we'll actually have a Dean Corral where you can run the race with Dean. I believe, at least that's what we've talked about so far, unless he's changed his strategy, that it's going to be pretty relaxing pace. We'll have an idea of what that pace is going to look like beforehand, and we'll let people know what that's going to be. But I'm pretty sure he's not looking to set a PR at the course. He's out here to really, experience the show life once again and reconnect with a community that is so near and dear to his heart.
Yeah, and show up at Jaffa Cafe for a little pre and post meal, right?
Yeah, we can take him there afterwards for sure.
And my advice for anyone who's in my pace corral running with me, bring some coffee covered espresso beans. Those are my favorite.
Those are the favorite.
Bring lots of food. Yeah.
You got to bring lots of food. Yeah, well, I'm telling you, if they haven't read your books, they need to read them. Ultra Marathon Man, your first one, Run, your next one, and then 50-50-50. There's some epic stories about food in there as well. Hey, I want to ask you, I had a patient actually came through my office today and wanted to ask this, Dean. He was a runner himself. He ran in college as well. He was a cross-country guy. He talked about, and you hear about this all the time, that kind of endorphin high, that runner's high. But he talked about how it was harder to get as he continued to run and run more miles. It took longer time before he was able to achieve that. When you start talking about running a 100-mile race, 133-mile races, how does that whole system work for you? What have you noticed as an athlete physiologically with regards to those endorphin highs versus hitting the wall going forward? How has that changed for you as a runner over those years since you kind of started this thing again at 30?
That's a really interesting question. The one thing I've noticed in my training with the runner's high is that I seem to get a high as I've gotten older and as I've run for more and more years. The high comes more out of intensity versus duration. So, anything up to, say, 2 hours, it's just kind of it's a mellow high, if you will. Over 2 hours of nonstop running, I still get a pretty good high. But anything short of 2 hours, it's not what it used to be. It's not as pronounced unless I go really hard. And, I mean, even a hard, 10K produces a high. I mean, if you're just hammering a 10K, I get a good runner's high. So that is definitely one thing I've noticed. Where before I'd hammer 10K and I wouldn't get that much of a high. I'd have to go actually longer and longer. Now, if I really, as I've gotten older, the faster I go, the more I seem to get a corresponding high. When you run a race like Western States, like a 100-mile race or 135-mile race, I mean, you get a high and you get a really big high, and it can last literally for days. It's just amazing. It's remarkable how long your runner's high can last. And it comes and goes. It's funny. It comes and goes in waves. It goes between periods of extreme exhaustion where you feel like you can't even take another step to just feeling like, man, I could run around the world right now. This is the greatest thing ever. So it really has changed over the years.
Talking to Dean Karnazes, ultramarathon runner, joining us in the Slow Marathon 2013, April 5th through 7th. You can run with Dean, author of 3 tremendous books. Dean, when you talk about that, we talk about the highs, but there's always, you can't have highs without lows. And certainly in some of those, you talk about the suffering. And, for the average person and a lot of people, and I talk to them on a daily basis, they say, geez, I just go out for 1 week and everything hurts. They're not even out there in those long, long runs. And certainly, you've been in some of those obviously epic long runs in some pretty kind of crazy circumstances. And there's suffering that's involved there. What's the advice to get through some of that suffering, especially for the athletes that's initially getting going, or the one that Samantha talked about here getting forward, the ones we want to get off the couch and into this race, the ones that we want to start participating in this incredible gift that we have to be able to run?
Well, I think a couple things. I think, primarily you really need to shift your paradigm. And that is just to say, look, it is going to hurt. And it's not such a bad thing. Experiencing pain while I'm doing something difficult is not such a bad thing. Because typically we say we want to avoid pain. And we don't want things to hurt. But when you go running, it's going to hurt. And I think to try to deny that it's going to hurt is just fooling yourself. So be aware that it's going to hurt, especially if you're doing the slow half marathon or marathon. Don't stand there at the start and think, maybe I can get through this without any pain. It's delusional. I think the better thing to say is, yeah, I am going to experience pain. I am going to hit that wall. I know it's going to happen, and I'm going to overcome it. I can deal with this, and I can overcome it. So I think that's the first thing is really approach pain from a different standpoint. The other thing is that when you hit those low moments, I've tried everything. I mean, I've tried a mantra. I've tried putting my head somewhere else. Don't do that. Just be in the moment. Be really present, and just focus on taking your next step to the best of your ability. Typically what you'll do is when you get to a mile marker, and you're hurting, you'll think, oh, I can't wait to see that next mile marker, and you're looking for it, and it never comes, right? Instead of doing that, don't even look. Just put your head down, put the blinders on, and say, my next step is going to be my best, and my next step, and my next step. So just be present, be in the moment, don't get ahead of yourself, and you'll push through that pain.
I like that. How about this? This is a golden question. Generally we have Paul Tarek on here, decathlete, Olympic decathlete. Paul's been MIA for a few weeks, so I want to know. We got Adam Melhuse, former Major League catcher, in studio. How do you convert a catcher into a long distance runner? How does the catcher become a long distance runner?
Who's well past 30, by the way.
Let's go outside and we'll find out.
I think any athlete knows what it takes to succeed. I mean, they know it takes. The formula is pretty much the same in any sport. I mean, it's discipline, it's sacrifice, and it's hard work. There are no shortcuts. And I think if you pose it as a challenge, oh, come on, you really think you have what it takes to run a marathon? Are you made of the right stuff? I think any athlete hears that and like, those are them's fighting words, buddy. So I always pose it as a challenge to someone and see if they can do it. And it usually surprises them how hard it is to do a marathon.
Yeah, I mean, no question about it, and that's why it's called a marathon. You look at the history of the race, and gosh darn it, it is tough. I think, Dean, you just lit a fire under Adam. He's got a big grin on his face, and I think we may have another participant in this race, at least one more.
Well, you spoke of the first marathon, and people seem to forget that the Pheidippides, the first marathoner, died when he finished. We'll keep that our little secret.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's not spread that too far. That stuff's happening all the time.
Does not want to hear that. She's like, Dean, shut up, please.
Yeah, well, hey, maybe that leads into a kind of a good last question. Is what are you doing? How have you changed your lifestyle from that time where you're 30 years old, you're walking out of a bar doing tequila shots, to being able to recover appropriately? Because a lot of people, they go, gosh, I don't think marathons are good for you. You can't recover, even half marathons. You're taking it to the next level, 50 in a row, 100-mile runs, 133-mile runs. What was kind of the secret in your life to changing how you recovered, how you approached food, how you approached sleep, some of those recovery aspects of health and wellness?
Well, yeah, I think it's a whole. I mean, to be the best that you can be, it's the whole package. So, training is huge, as you stated. High quality of sleep is really big, and diet is really big as well. So, I've really fine-tuned my diet over the years. I mean, I always tell other athletes, listen to everyone, follow no one. Find the diet that works best for you. And personally, what's worked best for me is kind of you're probably familiar with the paleo diet. Somewhat of a modified paleo diet. So I kind of use the filter when I look at food choices. Could a Neanderthal man eat that food? And if it's processed, if it's refined, the answer is no. I think Jack LaLanne, who's kind of a local Central Coast guy, said it best. He said, if man made it, don't eat it, and if it tastes good, spit it out. So as far as diet, I mean, that's kind of the mantra I've been following. And again, it's really to me it's a great exploration. It's never stop exploring. How far can you go? And I always tell people, if you're following a rigid training plan, that might not be the best thing. I mean, some days your body might not be responding as it should, and you shouldn't go hammer when they might say it's a day for a hard 10-mile run. It just might not be the right thing to do. So try to tune into your body, try to listen to your body, and and try to adapt and grow better, and don't be afraid to fail. If you go out hard and you fail, you learn a lot from your failures. I know personally I've learned a lot more from my failures than my successes. So don't be afraid to push yourself to failure and learn from the experience.
Brilliant stuff, Dean. I appreciate that advice, and I think everybody takes that home, because it's one of the more difficult things to do is to get the mind right, to be willing to fail, and the mind right to give it a try, and also the mind right to be able to just kind of be listening and be in such tune that you're willing to say, what, that race isn't good today for me, or that training run isn't good, or what, that food just isn't feeling quite right, and make those appropriate changes. I think that's brilliant advice. Dean, I tell you, I can't be more excited. I know this community is on fire for you coming here in April. It's going to be big stuff, and we just cannot thank you enough, not only for coming on this show and living the run and living the lifestyle, really, but for coming on here, taking the time. I know you got a busy schedule, and then for committing to San Luis and putting us on the map and bringing people with you.
Well, you're right back at you. I mean, thanks for doing what you do, and Samantha, thank you for being a race director. I know it's a thankless job, but I think it takes folks like all of us to join together to really inspire people, and I think it's contagious. Once we get someone in our little community, they can't stop. So best wishes to you guys as well. Keep it up. Hey, I look forward to being there and having some food with you in April.
Awesome, Dean. Yeah, Jaffa Cafe. I will meet you there the next time we talk. We will be at Jaffa Cafe, I imagine. Look forward to having you on, and hopefully we can have you on again post-race, get your recap of the race, and again, just thanks for all you do, and thanks for joining us in April next year.
I I look forward to seeing everyone who's listening in Slowtown for the half marathon and marathon and the festival.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dean.
Thanks, Dean. See you soon.
Hey, Dean Karnazes, folks. Always an incredible interview. This guy is just so good, Samantha. You couldn't have picked a better guy to come and recruit, and go after Die Hard and say, Dean, we need you here. His energy is tremendous. You hear this guy speak in person. It's just one of those energies you want to be around. He's just like a magnet. You just kind of want to follow him. And that's why how cool it will be to be able to have people be able to run with this guy out there for 26 miles.
You really do. Of course, he's an amazing athlete, and he is a Cal Poly alumni, and those are two really important parts for us. But really, foremost is that he was an ex-couch potato like many of us, like myself. And so that story, those books, that lifestyle, and that evolution of a human life is really what we're looking at, and what we appreciate the most. That's what we want to encourage all of the people to come out to the slow marathon. Do the half, do the 5K, do the full. Walk it. It's a closed course. You have 8 hours. So anybody that has the drive and the motivation to change their life, this is an opportunity to do it. And Dean will be there to speak directly to you, to be there, that energy, along with hundreds, actually thousands of other athletes with similar stories. So we really want to just call people to that New Year's resolution. It's that time.
Absolutely. And again, we want to call people to be signing up now for this race, April 5th through 7th, because it's a guaranteed sellout. April 5th through 7th, 2013. Saturday, we got the kids' fun run. We get the 5K. Sunday, the half marathon and the marathon. You got to sign up. A chance to run with Dean, but a chance to get off the couch and make a commitment for yourself to maximize your own human potential. So we're going to talk more about this when we return. If you missed any of that interview, check us out on Facebook.com or on livingtherun.com. Podcast will be up tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss being encouraged by Dean. I always am. I'm psyched right now just from what that guy brings to the table. So stick with us. We'll be back here, Living the Run, more in moments.
We're back with Living the Run.
Welcome back to Living the Run. If you missed our epic conversation with Dean Karnazes, you missed out. Ultramarathon man, inspiring, motivating, has committed to the slow marathon next year, 2013. That's the weekend of April 5th through 7th. Put it on your calendar. Adam, I get the feeling you're putting it on your calendar there.
I can see it in his eyes.
I can see it. He's transitioning from the major leagues to this possibility of getting it going. And I mean, look, pressure's on. Dean kind of called you out on it. Dean kind of called you. And then your own buddy Eric Burns, another former outfielder. He's now doing Ironmans. Was on the show. I think at least we could start with a half. That's what I started with last year.
It's on the calendar, but unfortunately, I'll probably be somewhere scouting a baseball game, as that's opening day of the season, April 5th. So last year I was in Florida for 7 days following the Washington Nationals during that time, and I remember it and seeing it on the Slow Tribune and the site and everything else, followed it. So unfortunately, and as long as I'm scouting, I think that's going to be as close as I get to it.
I want to say poor excuse, but that's not a poor excuse.
No,
that's a pretty darn good excuse. I'm not physically going to be here. I was hoping that you were going to give an excuse that we can kind of lay into, but tough deal there. You can't call in sick on that one. If opening day, it seems like that'd be a good day to call in sick, huh?
Not a good start to the year. I've never been a runner. Never even really enjoyed it. I'm fortunate.
You were a catcher.
For baseball, I had to run, down to first. Hopefully down to first I got a chance to run. But, never any distance, whatever. It was that same thing that was brought up was, go for a couple miles. I'm going to start this off season. I'm going to start running. I'm going to get in that endurance shape, which I don't know if you need that for baseball. It's more that quick explosion stuff. So, but anyways, it was like, I'm gonna start running, and pitchers run a lot, and they're in pretty good shape. So that's what I'm gonna do. And after a few miles, it's like, oh man, I must not be running right if I'm hurting, and my back, and this and that and the other. It's just like, apparently you just got to grind through it and just suck it up.
Well, that's what Dean said. You got to be expecting pain, and Kind of neat. We got race director Samantha Pruitt still in studio with us. Samantha, he kind of touched on something that I thought was real good. Talk about it a little bit, maybe in your own quest from going from a couch potato yourself to a ultra marathon or ultra racer, if you will, ultra runner. And he kind of talked about the idea of listening to everyone but following no one, and really more following yourself when it comes to your nutrition, when it comes to your race or your practice time. How much running am I putting in? What's my mileage each week? Talk about how difficult it is to be around other runners and that need or that want, that desire to know what they're doing, especially when you know they're very successful, versus being able to kind of hone in and say, hey, I got to do it my way. I got to stick to how I feel. I got to stick with what works with me.
It is such a unique thing. All sports are, but for sure running and distance running in particular. So it doesn't have to hurt. And there are training programs for runners, okay? So we're not about getting people injured and making people suffer and, so they can have that badge of honor like a stress fracture or something. We're not up for that. So it really, training smart is important. And what that boils down to, what you're saying is exactly right. Every person is completely individual. What my capabilities are and potential talent as a runner or not are, unique to me. So I need a training program that's appropriate for me. I can't be doing what my buddies are doing, what Dean is doing, or what other people are doing. It doesn't work for me, and especially I did get into ultra running the last 3 years, actually. That's what I've been doing. So Dean's been a big inspiration to me for sure. And there's tons of books out there in running in general, but following the cookie cutter programs or the tear the page out of Runner's World free training for a marathon is not a good strategy if you really want to have a good experience. So I suggest, we have training programs for the slow marathon on the website. Pinnacle Training Systems does our training, and they're professional coaches that write programs unique to you as an athlete. So really, most importantly, listen to yourself, listen to your body, and then you find the resources that are so available. Tap into the resources, join a club, find a coach, hang out with people who are like-minded, but you've got to listen to your own body at the end of the day. That's what it boils down to.
No question about it. And I think so many people, we talked before the show about January coming up, people make those New Year's resolutions. It's a perfect time to kind of be setting up for this April slow marathon. Again, if you missed it, Dean Karnazes has announced he's going to come run in this slow marathon. Super exciting stuff to have this guy. Adam, talk about that too. When you got into baseball, probably a lot of the same types of things. The hitting form's got to be like this. You got to put your foot here. When you throw the ball, it's got to be here. Or a catcher even, more so. So many different techniques in the catcher world. How was it for you, as a professional athlete, being kind of coaxed to go one way, or you see a catcher at the time, you played Pudge Rodriguez in there, a guy doing some pretty amazing things. These guys playing on a top level. How was it hard, or how hard was it to stick to your guns and not try to mimic what other people necessarily were doing, and being able to kind of figure out what worked for you and what didn't?
Yeah, no, it's exactly as we already touched on, or I think Dean said it was, listen to everybody but follow no one. So, I sat there and watched the guys that I thought were good, and why were they good, and what did they do well, what can I pick up from them. Plenty of hitting coaches over the years, and different styles, different philosophy. You click on the TV during baseball season, you see 9 guys on the field. American League, you got 8 of them hitting with the DH pitchers not hitting, but you got probably 8 different stances, and it's like there's a few absolutes, and if you get technical and break down film and watch video, there's a few techniques that are fundamentals that are essential. How you start, completely up to you, but you need to get to those few things. Other than that, it's your own style. And there's guys who break rules of hitting, rules so to speak, of hitting, and they're extremely successful because they're ultra good at another aspect. They might have such good hand-eye, they can get away with that. So it sounds like it's the same thing. It's just what works for you. Now, that's a lot of trial and error, and that's listening, trying. Okay, no, that doesn't work. Watching different guys. Hey, this guy really gets into that hitting position well, and he starts off with his hands way up over his head. Let me try that. Okay, that doesn't work. I can't get the bat on the ball. Let me go somewhere else. So it's just the trial and error, and then ultimately you settle in. Like, I think I started catching after my first year of pro ball, and I played 17, 18 years, and not until probably my last 3 or 4 did I really feel comfortable behind the plate. Like I really felt, okay, I'm not fighting myself back here. My stance, everything's good. I can relax. And when you relax, the game just slows way down, and everything's just like nice and flow and easy, and just, man, it's a good time. But when you're fighting it back there and have to get into the ice bath after the game, after 9 innings, feeling like you got hit by a truck, that's not so much fun.
Well, that transfers over these runs too. You can't just do a half marathon or a full marathon and feel like you did it well and say, hey, I ran that perfectly. I had the pace exactly how I wanted it. I hit the hills exactly right. I hydrated perfectly. Right. I fueled exactly right. So there is a little bit of that, and Dean, kind of hit right on it. You got to be willing to fail. Hey, last things here, Samantha, before we go. Anything more we need to talk about here? Slow marathon. Anything else you want to push? Again, April 5th through 7th, 2013. We're expecting this thing to be huge.
We are, absolutely. We do anticipate it's going to sell out. It did sell out last year. We have increased our numbers, but again, we anticipate it's going to sell out. We had a huge waiting list last year. We've got a lot of national buzz. We are a Boston qualifier. We were rated top new spring marathon in the United States. So a lot of really good love coming from the running community out there. So we expect to see some elites in the field this year. That'll be very exciting. So we'll bring some of those guys in. But really, we just say register now. Training is going to be starting in the next 30 days. So if you need some training, time to roll onto the website, get the details, and register.
Hey, awesome stuff. Look forward to it. Incredible. Best marathon in the spring in the nation. New marathon. Best new spring marathon. Boston qualifier already. Dean Karnazes in the second year.
We're killing it.
It's an epic event. You guys don't want to miss it. Make sure you sign up. slowmarathon.com. When we return on the show, we come in with Ryan Joyner from Athlon Elite. Couple tips from him. We'll take tips and takeaways. Stick with us.
With Living the Run.
Welcome back to Living the Run. Epic interview if you missed it with Dean Karnazes. If you missed any part of the show, slow marathon and half marathon 2013, April 5th through 7th. Dean Karnazes will be there. Biggest name in running today. He's got 3 books. Check him out at ultramarathonman.com. You can sign up for the race at slowmarathon.com. Pick up our podcast at livingtherun.com. A lot of .coms. Anyway, coming through here, another .com, athlonelite.com. Ryan Joyner joins us every single week to give us an exercise tip, especially going here through the holidays. But Ryan, we want to ask you real quick. We've been talking ultra running. We've been talking about marathon running. Talk a little bit about how Athlon Elite approaches the strength basis for setting up a strength program for these ultra runners, if you will. Not just the aerobic aspect, but the strength aspect.
Yeah, sure. Well, first and foremost, and I'm sure Samantha and Dean and everyone would agree, we always tell people that are interested in learning to run and wanting to get out there and get involved, get a coach, get somebody like Samantha, and then hit the road. You got to put the mileage in on the road. There's no way around that. However, once somebody's done that, and generally what we see is then people come to us and say, I want to do my next one faster. I want to be faster, or I want to be in less pain, et cetera, et cetera. And so, we approach that from two areas. One is, well, 3 areas really. First, strength. Strength is the foundation of everything. Of all physical skills, strength is the foundation. If you have good strength, you'll have better endurance. If you have good strength, you'll have a faster run. So we first improve just basic strength. Squats, leg strength, upper body strength, all that matters. And then number 2 is then, of course, the capacity at which you can deliver that strength. So how quick can you do it? That would be your interval training, your circuits, doing squats, jumps, twists, all that kind of stuff at high speeds to improve your capacity. And then, of course, the third area is, of course, mobility. And I know that, Rex, you work in that area as well. Mobility is key. It's key that your hip be able to move correctly. It's key that your ankle and your knee be able to move correctly. And so we do a lot with people, helping them learn how to move their joints better.
Hey, Ryan Joyner, as always, brilliant stuff. If you want to put a good strength training program together, go to athlonelite.com. Thanks, Ryan. Hey, as always, thanks to all our guests, Samantha Pruitt, Dean Karnazes, in the starting lineup this week, Adam Melhuse, and for Max Woodcock, the producer of this show. As we say always each week, live healthy, live bold, come live the run.